yearned to sail west, to venture into the unknown and discover lands unseen by European eyes. I dreamed of finding a new route to the east, a shortcut to the riches of Asia, bypassing the long and perilous journey around Africa.
Columbus, however, wasn't a skilled sailor. His knowledge of navigation was rudimentary, and he often struggled with the tools of the trade. He was a salesman, a dreamer who spun tales of golden cities and spice-laden winds. His charisma and passion were his greatest assets. He needed someone to believe in his vision, someone with the power to make it a reality. He needed a patron who could see beyond the risks. He set his sights on Queen Isabella of Spain, a monarch known for her ambition and desire to expand her empire.
Your Majesty, the risks are minimal, and my experience is vast. I have studied the maps and the stars, and I am confident in my plan. I even know the exact distance to Asia. The journey will be swift and the rewards immense.
Isabella, eager for wealth and power, was swayed by his charisma. She saw an opportunity to outshine her rivals and bring glory to Spain. She agreed to fund his expedition, a decision that would change the world forever. Her support was a gamble, but one she believed would pay off. Columbus, armed with the Queen's trust and 3 small ships, set sail into the unknown. His fleet was modest, but his dreams were boundless. He carried with him the hopes of Spain and the seeds of an empire, but also a darkness that would forever stain his legacy. His journey was not just one of discovery, but also of conquest and exploitation, leaving a complex and controversial legacy. Before the voyage began, promises hung in the air, as tempting as the scent of faraway spices.
Columbus, if you find a new trade route, you will be named Admiral of the Ocean Sea. Riches beyond imagination await you.
Riches beyond imagination were promised, with Columbus receiving a share of the treasures he discovered. His crew, men hardened by the sea, were lured by tales of gold and lands ripe for the taking. They imagined returning home heroes, their pockets overflowing with exotic treasures. The reality, as they would soon discover, was much harsher than the whispers of promise. The ocean held its own truths, and the men who dared to challenge its vastness would soon learn the price of ambition. Weeks turned into months, and the endless expanse of the Atlantic stretched before them. The journey was arduous, filled with uncertainty and the constant battle against the elements. Each day felt like an eternity as the horizon remained unchanged. The ships, tossed by unforgiving waves, creaked and groaned under the strain. The relentless storms tested the limits of their endurance, and the vessels seemed to protest with every gust of wind and crash of the waves. Supplies dwindled and fear began to grip the hearts of the men. Rations were cut, and the once hopeful crew now faced the grim reality of their situation. The fear of starvation loomed large, casting a shadow over their spirits.
We must be close. We have to believe that our destination is just beyond the horizon. Trust me, land is near. We cannot lose hope now, not when we have come so far.
Columbus, despite his confident facade, had no idea where he was. His mind was a whirlwind of doubt and second-guessing, but he knew he had to maintain his composure for the sake of the crew. His calculations were wrong, and the promised land was nowhere in sight. The maps and charts that once guided them now seemed like cruel jokes, leading them deeper into the unknown. The crew, their initial excitement replaced by gnawing fear, began to doubt their captain. Whispers of discontent grew louder, and the unity that once held them together started to fray.
This is madness. How much longer can we endure this endless blue? We should turn back before it's too late. Every day we continue, we risk our lives and our sanity.
I miss my family. The thought of never seeing them again is unbearable. What if we never see land again? What if this ocean becomes our grave?
Whispers of mutiny filled the salty air. The tension was palpable, and the once disciplined crew now teetered on the edge of rebellion. The men, weary and disillusioned, spoke of turning back. The dream of discovery had turned into a nightmare of survival. They missed their families, their homes, the comforting familiarity of solid ground beneath their feet. The longing for the known and the safe grew stronger with each passing day. The vastness of the ocean, once a symbol of adventure, now represented their isolation and despair. The endless blue stretched out in all directions, a constant reminder of their uncertain fate. The situation grew dire. The once hopeful journey had turned into a desperate struggle for survival. Rations were reduced, and the taste of salt water lingered constantly on their lips. The crew's morale plummeted as their physical strength waned. Columbus, clinging to his dream, refused to turn back. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, believing that salvation was just beyond their sight.
Just a little further. Land is just over the horizon. We must hold on a bit longer.
He clung to his faulty maps and calculations, promising that land was just over the horizon. His confidence was unwavering, even as doubt crept into the hearts of his men. The crew, pushed to their limit, had heard enough. Their bodies were weak, and their spirits were broken. Mutiny erupted on the Santa Maria. The tension that had been building finally exploded into chaos.
Enough of this. We must seize control and return to Spain. We cannot continue on this doomed voyage.
We can't go on like this. Turn back now. Our lives are at stake.
Angry and desperate, the sailors threatened to seize control of the ship. Their patience had run out and their fear had turned to fury. They demanded that Columbus change course and return to Spain. Their voices were filled with a mix of anger and desperation. Columbus, facing his own mortality, was forced to bargain for his life and his dream. The weight of his decisions pressed heavily on him.
Give me 3 days. If we don't find land, we will turn back. Trust me one last time.
He promised his men that if they didn't find land within 3 days, they would turn back. It was a desperate plea for more time. The crew, their anger momentarily quelled by this sliver of hope, reluctantly agreed. They had little choice but to trust their captain one final time. The 3 days passed slowly, each hour an eternity. The men, their hopes dwindling with every sunset, prepared for the inevitable return.
Just when our despair reached its peak, a glimmer of hope appeared.
On the evening of October 11th, 1492, a lookout aboard the Pinta spotted something in the distance.
It was a flicker of light, faint but unmistakable, dancing on the horizon. Could it be land?
Excitement, tinged with disbelief, surged through the weary crew. They had sailed for weeks through darkness and uncertainty. Now, a single point of light offered them a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the vast emptiness of the sea. As dawn broke, the crew's suspicions were confirmed. A lush green island materialized from the mist, fringed with white sand and swaying palm trees.
Land! The cry echoed across the ships, a mixture of relief, joy, and disbelief.
Columbus, his eyes shining with triumph, ordered the ships to approach the island. He donned his finest attire, prepared to claim this new world for Spain.
He believed he had reached the Indies, islands off the coast of Asia, rich in spices and gold. He had no idea that he had stumbled upon a continent unknown to Europeans, a landmass that would forever alter the course of history. His discovery, a testament to human ambition and perseverance, would have consequences both glorious and devastating. The inhabitants of the island, the Taino people, greeted the newcomers with curiosity and kindness. They were a peaceful people who welcomed the strange men from the sea with open arms.
Columbus, blinded by his own ambitions, saw them as primitives ripe for conquest. He claimed the island, which he named San Salvador, for Spain.
He marveled at the gold ornaments worn by the Taino, believing them to be a sign of vast riches yet to be discovered. He saw not people, but potential subjects, a source of labor, and a path to the treasures he so desperately sought. Columbus, convinced he had reached the Indies, called the Taino people Indians, a misnomer that would endure for centuries.
He saw their generosity as weakness, their peaceful nature as a sign of their inferiority.
He failed to understand the rich culture and history of the people he encountered. Their ancestors had lived on these lands for millennia, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of nature. They had their own stories, their own beliefs, their own way of life.
Columbus, blinded by his European arrogance, saw only what he wanted to see. A land ripe for the taking, a people to be subjugated, a stepping stone to the riches of the East.
So Columbus, driven by the 3 Gs, gold, God, and glory, embarked on a campaign of exploration and exploitation.
He explored other islands in the Caribbean, always searching for the fabled cities of gold. He claimed these lands for Spain, planting the seeds of empire that would grow into a vast colonial power.
He saw the conversion of the native population to Christianity as part of his divine mission. He believed that by bringing them to his God, he was saving their souls, even as he enslaved their bodies.
The clash of cultures, the collision of worldviews had begun.
Columbus's voyages marked the beginning of a new era. The encounter between Europe and the Americas would forever alter the course of human history. However, the legacy of Columbus is a complex and troubling one. His discovery paved the way for conquest, disease, and the decimation of native populations. The quest for gold and glory would leave a trail of suffering and exploitation in its wake. The exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures that followed his voyages would reshape the world, but at a terrible cost. Columbus's story is a reminder that history is not a simple tale of heroes and villains. It is a tapestry woven from ambition and greed, courage and cruelty, innovation and devastation. His voyages, driven by a thirst for knowledge and a lust for riches, set in motion forces that continue to shape our world today. The encounter between the old world and the new, a pivotal moment in human history, continues to spark debate and controversy. As we grapple with the complexities of the past, we must strive to understand the full scope of Columbus's legacy, both the light and the shadow.